And it seems that we're live. It's time for us to begin. So welcome, everyone. My name is Bart, representing Explain Everything. With me is Abdul here. Hi, Abdul, representing Showbie. How are
Hi,
you
Bart.
today?
Wonderful. Great to be here and very much looking forward to this session.
I'm really excited as we're going to cover, well, the best of two worlds, Explain Everything and Showbie. But before we begin, there is Cooper on Explain Everything side working with us in the backstage, answering questions. So our role today, mine and Abdul's, is to illustrate some scenarios that we're going to cover, but Cooper will also try to answer as many questions as possible. And he's really good at that. I must tell you, there was one session where Cooper answered 78 questions during 1 hour. So feel free to use his help. And in the meantime, let's begin with a few housekeeping items. So the chat is open. We recording the session, so you will be provided with a link if you registered for the session, and there will be a recording also on YouTube for those that would want to have a look at it later. If any question would remain unanswered, feel free to contact us, and you can use Explain Everything email here, support@explaineverything.com. For Showbie related question, what email should we provide, Abdul?
You can feel free to email me, no problem at all, abdul@showbie.com.
Cool, great, thank you for that. So that's another option for you. Fantastic.
Wonderful.
So why don't we begin with a short overview of what Showbie and Explain Everything is? Shall we?
Yeah, it sounds great.
So currently what I'm doing, I'm broadcasting screen of my mobile device. I'm using iPad and I'm equipped with Explain Everything whiteboard that I use to present and broadcast my screen to you. So what is it? Is a supercharged whiteboard that is capable of many things. Some of the things that is capable of, we will present today. So that's in a nutshell what Explain Everything is. How about Showbie, Abdul?
So Showbie is almost like a virtual classroom. And I'll say that this is supercharged as well, because it allows you to do a lot of things that historically would have been very difficult to do or would have involved a lot of manual effort. So your ability to kind of send in assignments by students and give them verbal feedback, your ability to kind of send videos and resources to students for them to respond back, video chat. It's got group discussion, collaboration, your ability to manage assignments. All of this is there in kind of one simple place. And now you can also do things like quizzing and getting question level analysis and wider data for your classes as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. And some of those features and functionalities we'll demonstrate today when using both tools. We'll use Explain Everything in actually two scenarios. You see here 3 of the core use cases, but today we're going to focus on doing whiteboard videos, creating them using whiteboard, Explain Everything whiteboard, and then putting those videos to the discussion on Showbie. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
And the second scenario that we prepared for you today is using collaborative whiteboarding for open up whiteboard for students to access, let's say in a hybrid learning scenario. And such collaborative space then can be provided to, let's say, assignments as an assignment for students so they can join, listen to the instructions, take in materials from the whiteboard, and provide answers, let's say, on Showbie. So those are the 2 scenarios in a nutshell, and we'll dive into more details very soon. Abdul, any additional thing you want to mention before we begin?
No, I think those are two very kind of simple workflows that will work for any teacher in any classroom. And of course, if you start looking and talking about the current climate with remote learning and so on, these are applicable within the classroom environment and also from a remote learning perspective as well. And in some countries, you've got this hybrid approach, right? Some students are in the classroom, some students are in the home, and the teacher has this challenge of addressing everyone and meeting the needs of all the children. And I think this is a fantastic workflow that allows teachers to do that.
Great. And what I love about those solutions is that one builds on top of another. So they work in tandem, as it's in the title, fueling and allowing for those methods of providing instructions, information to students, and this, well, troubling time now. So those two scenarios here, whiteboard videos, can be used to provide instructions asynchronously, right? And collaborative whiteboard when you have a session online with students in the class and some students being absent and joining remotely to engage and learn. So let's have a look into both scenarios, what we will demonstrate today before we actually dive into Explain Everything and Showbie. So as you see here, we have two roles. We have teacher using Explain Everything to create video, and I'll show you in few simple steps how to create one. And this video then will be shared as a link to students through Showbie, right? So students can access the link and watch the video provided by teacher. So why don't we start with that?
Sounds good.
So I guess the most common case is when we're starting not from a blank canvas, but from a material, right? From set of slides or perhaps a document that we want to use as a basis for our video. And for that, I'll reach to files and okay, I have set of materials on my iPad, and perhaps this PDF is something that I'd like to use for my students to provide a short video. So I'll find this page that I want to use, and I'll show you how to put this specific page of a PDF with a problem to solve for students to explain everything. First, to create a video, instructional video that then we'll use to share with the class using Showbie. So in order to do that, it's super easy on iPad to share in between apps, isn't it, Abdul, right? We just tap export icon here, and you have all of those options. So you could use this file anywhere. I'll use it in Explain Everything. So for those that would like to replicate this situation, here's Explain Everything, front screen of Explain Everything. We will use this document, and now we're going to export it, or rather open it in Explain Everything, just like that. So here's what's happening. Explain Everything shows a preview of pages from the document that I just started to use. And well, obviously this one is pretty long, 126 pages. I can deselect those pages because on my video, perhaps I just need one. So I'll find the right page that I'll use for my video, and I'll put it to the canvas. There are many options how you can use, if you're using several pages. Let me perhaps take two, the front page and this page, so I can demonstrate that you can put them as a separate slides, or you can put them to one slide stacked or as a grid. For now, I'll just use separate slides. So I'll tap Insert, and here we are in Explain Everything with 2 pages from the document that I used. And providing instructions in form of a video in Explain Everything is super easy. Let's say I want my students to solve the problem here, and I just want to create a video that explains the problem to solve. So let's start on slide 1. I'll press record here. Okay, class, here's a little assignment for you. I'll move to slide number 2. What I'd love you to do is to look at solve the problem number 1 here, create a grid with coordinate intervals of 5, 10, and 15 representing 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 light years. And please plot the location of black holes that you see here in this table. I'll press pause, and by this, I just created a very simple instructional video where I walk my students through the problem to solve. Here's a place where I annotated what is the problem to solve. I gave some instructions. I can play this back, so I'll go to slide number 1. I can play it back. Here's slide number 2. And of course, I can add an illustration. Let's say I want to add to this video at the very end, an illustration how to solve this. So I'll just extend this video before sharing this video to Showbie. So I'll press record again. Okay, and let me give you a short illustration. So I'll create a grid here, and I'll use pre-existing element, but you can draw it as well. And on this grid, I'll just mark that's 5,000 light years, that's 10,000. I'll look for location of the first black hole. That should be 6,600, so it's somewhere here. And on this axis, that's 2.4. So my first black hole is somewhere here. And I want you to continue with the remaining on the list. That's it. What I need to do in order to share this video with my class is to press export and use this first option, create web video link, to put it to Showbie. So that's the experience. I can name this video Stellar Nearest Black Holes. And I can use share button to put the link to the video to Showbie. So all I need to do is to select Showbie. So Abdul, if you could walk us through the experience of sharing this video in your world, in Showbie's world.
Yeah.
What do we see here?
So what you're now seeing is the ability to export into Showbie. And what's nice about this is that this could have, you can now explore it to anywhere you want in Showbie. So what you're seeing now are 2 classes that Bart is part of. And for this reason, for this purpose, if we just go to grade 5 maths, so if we tap on there, and then within grade 5 maths, I can see a series of folders, things that I might be, projects that I might be doing with the class, topics that I might be doing with the class, and so on. And for this particular session, because this is going to be a class discussion, and we want students to kind of discuss this rather than work on it individually, we just tap on class discussion at the top. And now, once you've tapped on class discussion, you can now choose to add this particular comment or this link, and that will now be in Showbie. So in shared items, you now have this into, if you just go to, yeah, grade 5. So you're seeing the Showbie window right hand side. So this is split screen view, and you go into grade 5 maths. And so, but you're in this class as a teacher, right? So you can go to class
Correct.
discussion. And when you go to class discussion, you'll now see that there's a link there. And this is the place where all students in the class can interact, they can speak to one another. You can choose a variety of different ways of responding to this. So you can see the link there. Now, but if you want to kind of leave some instructions as to what you want the students to do, or that there's an activity here, then you could type, which is great. But what you can also do, and this is where I think technology allows us to do things that we couldn't do before, is if you didn't want to type, you could quite have easily have tapped on the plus icon on the right hand side, and even
like this.
Like this, yeah. And you can see there's an option there for voice note. So if you just click on voice note,
right.
And there you go, you got audio function right there. So you can actually just speak naturally to your students and introduce them to the activity and so on. Very simple, very easy to do. And the students can actually listen to what it is that their teacher is saying. And because this is a class discussion, students can have verbal interaction as well. They can actually interact and respond with voice. They can ask questions, they can debate. There's a variety of things that can happen here. And of course, all this happens whilst the teacher is in control, and you can actually very easily kind of manage the discussion very easily. And if you want to take it a little step further, on the top right hand side, but if you could just highlight that there's an icon there that looks like a video chat icon. Okay,
right.
So you can actually even start a video chat with the whole class and begin to have almost like a Zoom type discussion where you're all seeing one another and speaking to one another as well. So it takes discussions and class discussions, not just from tech, not just keeping it at text level, but using audio and beyond that, even video to discuss the activity that the teacher set.
This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Cool, great. So that's, I guess, that's the way to create videos and explain everything and share them with the class in like a simple, that's the simplest thing that we can, that's the simplest workflow we can provide you with. Just take a file to explain everything, record your narration using contents of that file and share it to Showbie and allow students to watch it as a video. I'll show you the experience of watching this as a video. Maybe I'll just enlarge Showbie's window for a moment, and I'll tap this icon here. It brings you to explain everything, and you can play those instructions or illustration, whatever you want to share with students in a video format this way. This is super useful.
Just a quick question for you. So if I had a PowerPoint, I know a lot of teachers use PowerPoints and keynotes and slides. How does Explain Everything interact with that?
No, absolutely. So here we just used PDF, but in the second example, I'm happy to start with PowerPoint or with Keynote. So why don't we do that? I'll move to Explain Everything and show you what we'll do in this second scenario. Because the second scenario is all about hybrid model. So let's say there's this situation there where we want to provide new learning material to students in the classroom, but also those that are not in the classroom, and we want them to connect to the whiteboard and follow instructions that way. So what we'll do is that we'll take a keynote and we'll use water cycle example, put it to Explain Everything, and this time we will not record and post video file, but rather we will allow students to access the same canvas and join us on the whiteboard as we will be explaining new learning material. So just to make it clear, This is a scenario where teacher can use whiteboard in the classroom, showing whiteboards to the students using projector, and have some students joining the whiteboard remotely. Is that a good way to explain it, Abdul?
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Let's have a go.
All right. So, and again, we'll start fresh. That Explain Everything. That's the front screen of Explain Everything. And I'll go to my keynote. And I'll show you, here's a presentation that I have on water cycle. That's editable file that I want to now put to Explain Everything and turn as a material for my session with students. What I'll do is that I'll share this, and as you asked, okay, I want to move to iCloud. Okay, I want to put it. I want to export this, and here you are. You can use PDF, you can use PowerPoint, as you asked. There are many different formats that we allow for export process. Super simple. And then again, we can put this directly to Explain Everything. And again, we're on this screen that allows me to choose how do I want my slides to be organized. And I'll just use separate slides for now. So we'll have a project with 11 slides, right? Each slide presenting contents of what was in the keynote. I'll just change the title. So that's water cycle. And what I want to do now with this canvas is that I want to open it for access. So I'll use invite here, top right corner, and Explain Everything, to again obtain link. But this time, this link that you see here in the middle, it's an invite link. Once I share it with my class, this will allow students to join me on this canvas. So I'll start this collaborative space. And as you see, what will happen is that my iPad will connect to the collaborative session, and you see the controls here that allows me to mute or unmute my microphone. Since now we're broadcasting our audio through Zoom, so I'll just mute my microphone, but usually it would be that I would like unmute to speak with my students. And we need to choose what's the scenario of us using this material. So since I'll be presenting it in form of a lesson, I'll choose presentation for now. I can change that later. So the only thing that remains is to share this invitation link with students, right, Abdul?
That's right.
So I'll tap here and I'll share. Here's the link. I'll share this link.
Yeah.
As just last time.
I should be with you now.
Oh, I can see you. Yeah, I can see you here among participants. There's 2 of us now. So I'll share this with my students, Showbie. And again, the experience, as you explained last time, we're using grade 5 maths.
Yeah. So this time we're going into a class, right? So as we go through here, let's go into the science class because we can arrange folders and have assignments within folders in Showbie. So if we tap on science, and when you go into science, you can see assignments. In this case, there's just one assignment here, but you could have multiple assignments. When you go into the assignment, you can now actually share this with specific students. So you might just choose Elliot and Mariam and Yusuf and Michael and not share it with anybody else, or you can share it with everyone. So if you're supporting a specific student and just want to give them a little bit of a demonstration, a bit of a kind of, how to answer this question or something, you can do that very easily and support that individual student. Or you can select everyone. And so in this case, we're going to share this with everyone because we want everyone to be able to contribute to this. So we tap share with everyone. And here we go. Just add the comment. And then
And there's a notification, sorry
Yep.
to interrupt, there's a notification that you could see on the top of my screen that this link was shared. Okay, and please provide us with, yeah, what happened now. So
There you
I'll
go.
go
So
to,
now you've opened this up, you're in your classes, you're going to go to grade 5 maths.
right.
Yeah, grade 5 maths. And there you'll see science, for example, and then you go into water cycle. And here now you're going to see all your students on the left-hand side. And right at the top, you've got shared items. Anything you put in shared items, all the students can see. So this link is here now for all students to access. But if you just go back one step, and yeah, and if you just tap on, let's just tap on Lucy, second student down.
Okay.
So you'll now see, yeah, so if you look in Lucy's workspace now, Lucy has this as well. So everybody has that. It's massively time saving, being able to just share something into one space and all the students automatically receive it. We've shared a link, could have been a Word document, it could have been a video, it could have been Keynote pages, numbers, Excel, PowerPoint, Google Doc links, you know, anything you can put into shared items and all the students have access to it.
So I'll leave a little note. Join me on Explain Everything Canvas.
Yeah.
Okay. So Abdul, how notification works? Let's say I have most of my students in the classroom and some are not in the classroom. Do they get notification once I post this invite link?
Yeah, I mean, it works in a number of different ways, but probably the easiest way for me to kind of show you this is that I've joined as a student, right? So if we look at this from a synchronous perspective, so say, for example, it's Monday morning, we're actually doing this activity, and it just so happens as a student, I'm working from home, and you're in school. I know Monday morning, I have you as my teacher, and if you just bring up the student list right there, okay, I'm signed in as Elliot, the first student on the top.
Right.
Okay. So just keep it on shared items for the moment. If you can just go back again.
Right.
Yeah, and just tap on shared items. Right, and just keep that list out there. So if I submit something into this particular assignment now, so I'm doing this live. So if I go to science and I go to water cycle, and I'm going to type something, right? So I'm just going to write, thank you, right, just for the assignment, and I'm going to hit post. Watch what happens on your side. Can you see a paperclip and the blue line has popped up and you've got a notification at the top, right? So from a synchronous perspective, you can actually see students that have submitted. The blue line means that I've sent you something and you as the teacher you've not seen it. So if you tap on Elliot now, tap on his name. On there you go, and you'll be able to see my response there, right?
Fantastic.
And if you go back to the names, you'll see the blue line has now disappeared, right? So
because I received this information.
Yeah, because you've seen it, because you've seen the information. And on the top right hand side, the video function is there as well. So if you actually want to speak to me or explain something face to face, you can do that as well. The other thing to know, if you go back on the top arrow, just go back to the beginning on top left hand corner. That's right. And one more again.
Okay.
So we're right in the beginning of this class. And if you just tap on the settings icon, the wrench icon at the top, and go to class settings. Here, I can manage my notifications. If you go to notification preferences, as a teacher, as a student, and as a parent, you've got a variety of ways in which you can kind of interact asynchronously. So you can switch off email notifications and just have app notifications on. So for example, where it says a comment is posted, if you tap on the email icon there, I think it's email. Like, yeah.
Comment or here.
There you go, right? So you can now see a comment or file is added. You can switch it on and switch it off just by tapping that.
Super easy.
It's entirely up to you how you manage those notifications.
Fantastic. So in our scenario, if I would be one of your students, the notification will come. I will join. Most probably, I will join this online space that we created in Explain Everything. So let me show you what's the experience from synchronous perspective now. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll share two windows at the same time to show you the experience of both teacher and student. So you'll see it now. Okay, all right. So here's what I'll do. On the left side, you see my iPad. On the right side, you see Explain Everything session in a browser. That means one of what I'm simulating here is one of my students joining this online space. So the difference that you'll notice is that when I'm presenting as a teacher, that would be on the left side, I can use the tools that are visible here, right? I have all my tools and they're not available for my student. So I can, in this scenario, start my lesson, use projector in the class to display contents of my whiteboard, but at the same time, have some students connected as I'm, showing you here with this window on the right side. And Abdul, if you could confirm that's exactly
Absolutely.
your
Yeah.
experience, right?
I am seeing that synchronously.
So for example, here we're speaking about phases of water cycle, and I would want my students to provide me some illustration, some feedback to what I'm sharing. I can always, at this point of time, provide them with controls. And how do I do that? I can change the scenario here, and let's say I'll do it now for all participants. And from presentation, I'll change it to open collaboration. As you'll see on the right side, tools appear. So now, Abdul, you as a student, you can add to the canvas. And you're free to do that. And you're free to browse the contents of each individual slide. So if you could just provide anything. Oh, here you are. So as you
Nothing
see,
meaningful, but here I am.
this is cool. This is great.
This is quite magical, really, when it works like this. It's pretty seamless.
Exactly. So what I can do as a teacher is to go through material here and explain each phase of water cycle, right? But when I need input from my students, I can always kind of like unlock their experience. It's a different experience than just watching a conference call transmission, right? This is an experience when student can interact with content, can interact with teacher. So we have a good learning environment. So what should we have this scenario with, Abdul? Should we create a recording, or would you rather want to show how we share? Yeah,
I think
recording would be good.
Let's do a recording, because I think for a lot of teachers, like teaching live, remotely, and even in the classroom, I think for me, what I believe is that from a remote perspective, adding your voice to an explanation, to a PowerPoint, and the teacher explanation is really powerful. I think even without lockdown and remote learning, if a teacher can explain something and that explanation is captured and made available for students to see, then I think that would be kind of pretty powerful, right? Because students can access that content later on as many times as they want, and so on. So I think that is the magic that educators and teachers bring, and that expertise of taking something and being able to take something complicated and simplify it and explain it. And if we can capture that and make that available to students, then I think that's pretty powerful.
Okay, so let's try to show how to do that. So now I'm on slide number 3. We're in this online session, but I can unmute my microphone. I hope there's no echo. Okay, and we'll do a short recording. I'll press record. Okay, class, so here's a short summary of the phases of our water cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's just a silly illustration. So as you see, I recorded short 13-second long video that I can then share again with the class without leaving this online session as a web video link. So in order to do that, as before, I go to share, create web video link, and I'll just put a different title to it, summary of phases, order cycle phases, or stages. Okay, and I will now share this back to Showbie with a link that I'll put to grade 5 maths, right? And we chose science, is that correct?
Yeah, and then water cycle. And then you could share that with everyone.
All right, let's do that. So as you see, without leaving online session, we can share a snippet in form of a video file. Fantastic.
Brilliant. But just taking this a step further, so that's great. That's the teacher explanation gone through. Now, if I want to set an activity, so what I want to do is I want to send like a screenshot of just the water cycle to the students in my class. And then I want my students to annotate this with voice and be able to explain certain aspects. Can we have a go at that?
Of course. I'll just provide you with a better look at my screen. So we just need teacher's iPad now. I'll clean this slide by removing those annotations. And as we mentioned, this time we're going, but I'll leave your picture here.
Oh, thank you very much.
What we want to do, as you said, is to share just this picture with my class. And for that, I can use another cool feature of Explain Everything, which is called Inspector. I can select contents of the canvas, and you can be quite precise here. You can select what you need to share in form of an image. So I'll use both your picture and the background graphic, and I'll press this button here, that is share, so I can easily share this image with my class using Showbie. So here we go. Again, grade 5, science, water cycle. And yeah, we'll share this image with everyone one more time. Water cycle. That image. And if the file is large, you can see the progress bar showing you the upload process, right?
Brilliant.
Okay, so I'll move.
Okay, I have it.
Let me see. So I'll move now, change my view to Showbie and go to science, water cycle, and we share this.
And
it should be.
If you just wait there for me, I will, as a student, because I'm signed in as Elliot, I'm going to do some annotations on this in Showbie, and then maybe we can show how this works. So I'm just going to open this up. You can't see this on my screen at the moment, but you'll see it in a moment. And I've got some additional features, tools at the top. One of them is the ability to add voice. So I'm just going to tap on that, and Bart can show you how this works in a moment. And I'll just tap on evaporation, and I'm going to record my voice. Okay, so evaporation is the process by which water turns from a liquid into a gas and forms clouds. Save. And I'm going to hit the done button, and you should in a moment be able to see the blue line pop up because I've responded. There you are. That's there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I can see that. So I can go there.
Great. And you can now tap on the image.
All right. Yeah.
There you go. And there's my voice note. If you tap on my icon, obviously it looks very much like me. If you tap on the icon, you'll see that well, it's playing now. That's great.
Mhm.
You might be able to hear that or might not based on Zoom and all that kind of stuff, but that's playing sound. You can see it's obscuring the text, but actually, as it, you can actually tap on the name, like the icon, the image, the emoji, yeah, and it will shrink that as well.
Nice.
And
Mhm.
you as a teacher, you can obviously annotate using the tools at the top, but if you just click on the button with the speech mark and the bubble with the play button inside it.
Okay. Mhm.
There you go. It's just lit up blue. And now tap anywhere, maybe tap at the top or anywhere else.
Mhm.
There we go. The audio function comes on, and now you can hit record and speak and give me verbal feedback and give me a response to
That
what
was
I've
great,
done.
Elliot. I love this.
There you go.
And I just provided you with my voice response. Mhm.
Wonderful. And I've got a notification here telling me that you have done just that. And of course, you're able to change the name of the voice notes and so on as well. But I think what this brings to for educators is a very, very efficient way of working that has the ability to capture the best of students and teachers. Teachers can listen to feedback from the students. They can actually say to students, respond to this with your voice, not by pen and paper. Or they can say, respond to this by pen and paper, take a screenshot and send it over. And from a explain everything video perspective, the fact that I can go back and watch some things many times over means that my misunderstanding, any issues that I might have, the ability for my parents to support my learning is going to be far superior than what it used to be in the past.
I absolutely agree. It's like a great blend of those different modes that you can use to interact with students, provide instructions, and receive feedback. And it's actually up to you as teacher to choose among those options what fits what you want to achieve. So if it's like online setting, you can join with students or on Explain Everything. But as we demonstrated, you can pick assets or elements of instructions that you need and share them with class or with individual students, and even provide feedback or interact with those elements just the way we demonstrated now with this water cycle. This is amazing. This is great. Oh, I guess we're right on time to open for Q&A here, unless, Abdul, is there anything else you want to demonstrate with
No,
Showbie here?
I think we've covered the basics. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot more to explain everything. There's a lot more to Showbie. We will be having another session next week. I think it is on the 6th of October. So absolutely look out for that, where we'll be kind of going through a similar sort of thing. Maybe we'll swap out the workflow a little and kind of, get additional questions. So feel free to spread the word and the link for that. I don't know if you have the link for that, but maybe if we can share it on the chat if possible. But absolutely feel free to come and join us for that. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, so let's open for Q&A. And Cooper, let me ask you, what do we have as, on your list of questions waiting to be answered?
Well, there are some. Hi, everyone. So there are some general questions regarding how I Explain Everything and Showbie works together. So there are a couple of questions to Abdul. Very simple one though. Does Showbie function for free? If not, how much is a teacher or admin membership?
Okay, so the pricing is kind of different. I'm not really the sales guy, but my role as VP of Learning is more to do with the teaching and learning and making sure everyone's getting the best out of this. But I would definitely recommend you to go to showbie.com, and there's a whole range. So you've got basic edition, which is free, that has some limitations. You can have up to 10 assignments, active assignments that are there. File sizes are limited to 25 megabytes, and voice length is limited to 1 minute. Somebody asked a question about Gradebook, and Gradebook is included in the free version as well. Then there's Showbie Pro for teachers, individual teachers, and Showbie Pro for schools and districts, which has different kind of pricing and so on. And then there's the pretty amazing Showbie Pro Plus approach, which has Showbie and Socrative, which is a quizzing tool, and Explain Everything in there as well, and potentially other tools that will be coming to that as well. The price plans are all different. I would probably say, you know, hit the contact us button on the showbie.com price plan page and have the conversation, because it's different based on number of teachers and so on. So it's worthwhile kind of doing that inquiry. And even if you're using Showbie Pro now, and you suddenly want to do Showbie Pro Plus, I know a few schools have contacted me for that. There is something that the team has put together around that. So absolutely just say, hey, we're a Showbie Pro school, and I want to be Showbie Pro Plus, and have a conversation with them about how to kind of upgrade in a cost-efficient way.
Right, awesome. Thank you. All right, so we can, because there are a lot of teachers and people using Explain Edu and asking why they do not have the option to collaborate. So we could just explain that as well. To some of you, I've posted links to our help center where we show via video and exactly what are the differences. So I'll post those in the chat. But this will answer most of the questions that we have that are about why I am not seeing the share as web video link, or why I cannot collaborate questions.
Sure, absolutely. So there's Explain Everything EDU is our legacy product that we actually started with. It was created for one particular use case, and that is video creation. And we started that, and since then we expanded Explain Everything possibilities to accommodate additional scenarios of using whiteboards. That is, this, for example, online teaching in a hybrid scenario, or remote teaching where session is opened in the cloud. So Explain EDU, when you think about this as a product, it is intended for offline use. It is a product that is not subscription-based, just one time off. It exists only on one platform, that is iOS, and it exists there because sometimes there are schools or districts that are just restricted in a way they can use connectivity. So this version is good for them. Obviously, the scenario that we illustrated here uses the cloud, because every time when I shared this web video link, what happened is that the cloud rendered the video and provided the stream to students that wanted to watch the video. So that subscription version, Explain Everything Interactive Whiteboard, that goes with subscription, is something that can provide this type of experience. Or sharing whiteboard with students and allowing them to connect. It's also an experience that you can expect from cloud-supported product. So that's why Explain EDU does not allow for this. So think of this as an offline-only experience. It allows for incredible things to do, but yet it is limited in a way that it cannot use the cloud.
Can I just jump in here? It's Chris here from Showbie.
Right, so these are, yes?
Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in and say, I've been messaging and checking out the chat from a Showbie side of things this evening for you guys. And one thing that struck me and came through was that we've got a range of practitioners here. We've got the ones who will be very aware and very technologically advanced, and we'll have those who are maybe a little bit rushed into implementation because they've had to go to a hybrid or a remote plan quite quickly. And the thing that stood out for me this evening watching the webinar was that there is a real scalability with Explain Everything and how it links into Showbie, from the very basics all the way up to what is wonderful or inspiring collaboration that can take place. And I think for me, that's the thing that has stood out this evening. For those who are going to be adopting this for the first time, there's plenty of simple tools to make life a lot easier, but then there's an opportunity to really take this to the next level. And for myself, being in a classroom at the moment, I'm actually quite excited for the opportunity and the prospect to when I might be able to implement this from a home and a remote aspect too. So for me, that's the thing that I've really sort of taken from this. We can go basic for those new users and someone who's in charge of a team, and then you can go much further and much bigger as well. And so for me, that was really interesting. So I just thought I'd point that out, and I can see from the chat that there are people who are very au fait and know lots about Explain Everything, and some who are brand new to this. And I think there's a real easy jumping on point.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. I fully agree. Explain Everything can be at the same time very simple to begin with. And we usually suggest to start with just recording. As I mentioned, that was the core use cases that we build Explain Everything around. And it can provide for more powerful experience that is online, that is sharing different options. But what I love about Explain Everything is that how well it works with Showbie, and I hope this is something we can demonstrate, because those solutions working in tandem allow for much more than individual solutions at the same time.
Okay.
Chris, thanks for that, for your feedback.
Right. So I think we can, since we're nearing the end of the webinar, I think we can do a short summary for those who came in later.
Okay, sure. So Abdul, let's wrap up the webinar and just summarize. Yeah. So the one thing that we want to leave you with is that, Explain Everything and Showbie are quite different in nature. That have the functionality that sometimes overlaps, but just a little bit, and that's why they work great in tandem. And two scenarios you can think about using them is that you can work with students in asynchronous mode and share elements of lectures that you need in video format or materials, organize those sessions on Showbie, and organize those discussion around those elements on Showbie, or you can also go online and use the best that there is on Showbie and Explain Everything to facilitate such online lecture. Abdul?
Yeah, I think that the ability to use voice and video just got very, very simple. I think you can use whatever resources that you have and be able to kind of add your value as a teacher along on top of that, and then being able to share that with students makes it hugely powerful. For me, Explain Everything brings the ability to kind of capture that very, very easily and share that. And what Showbie does is it allows for that classroom kind of experience where I can speak to individual students individually, and I can speak to a whole class or a group. There are other opportunities where I can create ad hoc groups and teams of people and be able to share with them. I think there's an opportunity to become operationally efficient in schools, because with operational efficiencies, we're looking at the ability to save time, the ability to save money, and at the same time be able to kind of develop our workforce and to be able to give them skills and new tools that allow them to be far more effective and productive. And I think that's what technology does when it's used well. It allows us to do things that we couldn't do in the past. And what we're sharing here is not just something that we're translating, as in here's a sheet of paper and here it is now in Showbie and just write on it and send it back. What we're now talking about is the ability to capture learning. One thing that was very, very difficult in the past was, you know, if you wanted, I'm a chemistry teacher historically, if you wanted to learn about the periodic table, you would have to be in my lesson at that time and be able to understand everything that I'm saying. And then if you miss that point, then you probably wouldn't hear that kind of explanation again. What Explain Everything and Showbie is allowing teachers to do is to capture those explanations, capture those face-to-face conversations and discussions, and be able to kind of share that learning in a way that students can access it based on their needs, based on their pace, and at times when they need it. This isn't just about equality. This is actually now about equity. You know, it's about equality is giving everybody the same thing. Equity is giving everybody the opportunity to fill the gaps that they have for themselves. So my gaps are different from the person sat next to me, and I can now use this to watch a video 10 times, slow it down, look up meanings, ask somebody else, and my neighbor might be doing something different. They might only watch it 5 times, and they might be asking other questions. So the ability to have equity in education is what Showbie and Explain Everything are bringing together as two very, very powerful tools coming together.
That's a great way to summarize that. I think we all have this situation where we thought, okay, I would love to have this lesson that I just attended in a video format, right? So that's the possibility that exists now, and both solutions, I guess, they're a great platform to enhance and improve learning, even given the situation that we are in now, so learning never stops. Great. So I hope we answered all of your questions, or at least most of your questions. If there'll be more coming to us, to Showbie's team or Explain Everything team, let me show you again where to send them. Please contact us on using support@explaineverything.com, or
and Showbie is exactly the same as well. Feel free to send support@showbie.com as well.
All right, so I'll mark it here so it stays on the recording. So Showbie, support@showbie.com.
Yeah, that's, absolutely. Feel free to do that.
Exactly. Fantastic, Abdul. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for great instructions that you provided. Cooper, thanks for helping us and working on questions in the background. I hope for those that connected, it was helpful to receive answers from you. And Chris, thanks for providing us with your feedback. Thanks everyone for joining today, and hope to see you soon on one of our next webinars. Thank you.
Wonderful. Bye-bye.
Stay safe. See you. Bye.